Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyito. Thank you so much for being with us all the way from 6:30 when you opened up with Good Morning Uganda. Now it is a Monday and we are moving quite on steadily again to ensure that another month is yet completed. It's not very far that we shall be ending this month, I must say. And in the next month, on the 12th, we'll be having the International Youth Day. And this is a day celebrated internationally, but here in Uganda, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is directly in charge with issues of the youth. Now, recently, we had a census, and still nothing much changed. It still shows that the biggest percentage of Uganda's population are the youth, about 79%. Now, this youth issue is something that we've always discussed. Some say it is an opportunity. Others say it's a time bomb. That if the youth are not planned for, if the youth are not involved in the way things are run in this country, then it is just a matter of time that they will explode and we shall have a bitter taste. Our neighbors in Kenya saw the power of the youth when they decide. But we want today to look at what is our government doing, more so through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, to ensure that it empowers our youth so that they are productive youth. We don't boost of quantity, but not quality. And joining me to discuss this, I have the spokesperson of the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Joshua Chalimpa. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Chirabo Comrade, the management of UBC, for according us this opportunity to talk to this very important topic, which, like you said rightly, so that it can be an opportunity. Of course, if it's mismanaged, it can be a time bomb. We've seen in Kenya what has been going on, and we know that the youth are energetic. And given the government programs in place, I think we are doing what is right. We are on the right path to turning this youth issue into an opportunity for this country.
Now, Joshua, when you talk about being on the right track, my viewer would want to know what track is this? What is there to be seen that really government is factoring in the youth question and you bring solutions?
Thank you very much. The first aspect is to recognize that there have been challenges. Of course, the government recognizes that we've been having challenges. One of them is whether the youth have the requisite skills to survive on their own. It goes back to the training, the curricula that we have. In the education system, they have come up with a new curriculum, which should really enable youth to be able to do something even when they drop out.
That is the lower secondary curriculum.
The lower secondary and the lower, and then in secondary. Now, also you have to look at the fact that there are high dropout rates. That has been a headache for government. Those who start P1, very few of them complete P7. And others, and those who manage to complete P7, very few complete O-level. The issue has been, where do these people go? Of course, they are out there struggling with life. So it's the responsibility of government to ensure that even when, in the unfortunate event that you drop out of the education system, you are able to fend for yourself. There has also been the issue that even those who complete the school cycle, some of them up to university, still would have challenge in getting the jobs. And here we are looking at people who study for purposes of being employed. So that is what is changing, to ensure that when you study, you get the requisite skills. There are countries which have developed, countries like Japan, countries like India. You don't necessarily have to look for a job. the issue that when you go through the school system, what can you do for yourself? That is the focus of government now. In fact,
now, you've mentioned two things here, Joshua. You've mentioned of those that do not complete the education cycle, and they are left without a qualification that is recognized. Then you've also mentioned those who go through school, and at the end of the day, they have not attained skills. So it's like they are going to school may not help so much because they don't have the prerequisite skills that you talked about. Now, let's see how government first has catered for the high rate of school dropout. Because today education is very expensive, we must say. Seeing a child through from primary now, O-level, is another cost, and some parents don't have that. Some children are unfortunate. So at this high level of dropout, what is government doing to ensure that even if I don't complete senior 4, even if I don't go to A-level, at least I can be productive?
Yes, it's true what you're saying. But first of all, in terms of government, there are institutions that have been put up in, by government. For example, BTVET training, vocational training, DTI, give this kind of training. But also there is one unique aspect, that there are people there who after dropout find something to do, either welding, either they are doing many other things that they are doing, but they need some level of certification to do the job. There are people in Katre, they can even make motors, they can even make popcorn machines, they can make many things, many products. So what the government has come up with is the possibility of getting certification, which is based on the skills that have been acquired, and you get a certificate from the DTI. It gives you an opportunity now.
That is the Directorate of Industrial Training.
Directorate of Industrial Training. It gives you an opportunity now to even get other jobs. For example, we know that in the oil sector, they will need welders. But if you have a situation where our welders can't get those jobs because the person giving those jobs will ask for a certificate, which our people who can do the job don't have. That is how the government now comes in to give this skill-based certification for that caliber of people. So there are multiplicity of efforts which are being carried on by government. But also we know that Uganda is one of the most industrious nations, because our people really are so much in the informal sector. They have started different forms of business. And government is coming up with possibilities of these people who may not have collateral to get loans, to get money from different projects of government. That's where YLP, UWEP, in the Ministry of Gender comes in handy. That is where GROW comes in handy. That's where the apprenticeship programs, the Juakali programs in the ministry, where we give equipment to these young people to go and do work and earn a living, come in hand. And I'm sure that there are many in other ministries. For example, under the parish development model, you have money which is 30% of the PDM money allocated for youth for purposes of being able to do work. So now we are turning the tide. It is not that a job means being employed by somebody else. People should recognize that even when you employ yourself, it's a job. It's a job. For example, if you start your welding business, why should you continue saying that you are unemployed? And these are the people who are running this economy, because the majority of our people are in this informal arrangement. And it is possible for you to start from that informality to become a millionaire, to become to start an enterprise, to start a factory, because we have seen people start that way and expand. So what we are doing as government is to to be enablers, to support, to facilitate people who have actually started to even expand, grow, and employ other young people. And there are many programs like that. I'm happy that the majority of those rest within the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. After all, it's the ministry responsible for the youth of this country.
Now, Joshua, when you talk about a number of programs government has put in place, the big question that comes to my mind is why aren't these programs in tandem with the output? Because every financial year when the budget is read, this is a fact that you know that government puts billions of money into a number of programs aimed at human capital development and also aimed at poverty alleviation, more so amongst the youth. But when we try to assess these programs, now that I have you from the Ministry of Gender, are we seeing value for money? When you talk about youth livelihood program, are we seeing fast accessibility? Are we seeing the youth, the targeted youth? Because you know when there is money, we all act like beasts of the wild. Everyone, when they hear there is money, everyone wants to tap in. But is this money going to the targeted beneficiary? Are they able to access it? Is it causing the transformation that it is meant to cause? Or are we just assuming that the fact that we release this amount of money, it is there, the youth are making good outcomes of the money?
Of course, there are challenges, but you also have to understand that we are dealing with a mindset from both the youth and also the other implementing partners. You should also understand that the ministry works through different stakeholders. For example, the Ministry of Gender in implementation of YRP or UWEB, you will find that even, for example, other programs like PDM, you have been reading stories of people being arrested. We are not dealing with angels. We are dealing with people who may not be reading from the same scriptures as we are. And but it's the duty of government also to ensure that these people understand. And I'm happy that government has been working on this issue of mindset. Again, the Ministry of Gender is responsible for spearheading mindset change. We are even responsible for that component of mindset change in the PDM.
Now,
I'm happy that...
Just a quick one on that. All over time, we've always had some words that we bring up in government programs. Now, trending is mindset change. Now, broaden this issue of mindset change. Whose mind are we changing? And how is government actually carrying on mindset change? Do you meet people and tell them, change your mind? You know, it looks so unveiled when you hear everyone, we need mindset, any conference, any workshop. It's now like a new term. But actually, what is entailed in mindset change? When we say people are stealing money for youth livelihood, are we looking at the technocrats because they're also stealing? Are we looking at key government? Are we looking at the people at the grassroots? And whose mind and how are we changing this mind?
I think it's the mind of everybody. I'll just say that from last week, the president, his cabinet, and all the permanent secretaries have been in Chankwans. They were talking about these issues. The president was bringing the message of how to end corruption in this country and a number of interventions for government. I can say that in the very definition of mindset, the president was trying to change the mindset of the people he works with to understand, to read at the same scriptures. Now, we know that some people in some societies, for example, in Uganda here, over time, corruption is condoned. It is not that we shun the corrupt. You find somebody is arrested for corruption, and delegations will come from their community to come and meet the president or to meet the powers be to ensure that
so that people bring
so their person is forgiven.
forgive your excellency, forgive our member.
So even the understanding that once somebody is corrupt, somebody steals the money, it is their money, is not understood. Now, in some societies, some communities, stealing from government is condoned. You will see, for example, in a health center 3, now they are being phased out, that medicine is sent to the health center 3. And on the day or in the week the medicine is sent, people run there with fake headaches and what to get the medicine and keep home. Because they know that if they don't do that, the medicine will be finished. So you find that within 1 month or 2 weeks of the medicine being sent to health center 3, it is taken away. Now you have a situation, and the people don't see this as corruption, but it's corruption. You will see a situation where people are given housing to stay at a health center 3, but they are absentee health workers. They are given jobs in a particular locality, they don't necessarily stay there, and this is all forms of corruption. So the issue about mindset change is, when people see this, do they understand that it's their responsibility to help government in ending corruption? If, for example, because corruption is about he who gives and he who receives. If, for example, a youth group wants to access money, but in doing so, they are being asked by some stakeholder within the value chain there from down that you have to give me money if you want to access money. They go ahead and sell the little they have to bring the money. They don't help us in reporting when this is happening. It means they are condoning it. So the idea is to really train people to understand what is their responsibility as a citizen to end all these vices as they go on. It's a problem that has been living with us over time. I appreciate that it is a struggle which should continue, but once the people get the right message, there's nothing that can fail us from achieving.
So one of the challenges you have pointed out regarding government programs aimed at fighting poverty amongst the youth is mindset change and the element of corruption. But also there's been a big challenge of monitoring and supervision by your ministry, Joshua, that most of the times these are not supervised, or sometimes they don't actually know what they're supposed to do. They're not prepared enough. You go to a group of young people, good villagers I must say, you're telling them that there is money and government is going to ensure that your group, the minimum you can get is maybe 15 million. There's this excitement, these young boys are given some paperwork, and then here the money is. Then you later run after them that they have to pay back. Some end up even saying, the president was thanking us for voting for him. So that lack of enough preparation to the people receiving this money, lack of enough monitoring, lack of enough supervision, what are you doing about this?
Of course, it goes back to the issue we have been talking about. If the youth or women or any other category of community are given money, why would they think that they have to be thanked by the president? That this one is a gift from the president. That mindset is also wrong. Now, the issue of supervision, I want to talk to that because it's really what government should be doing. Why is government not doing it to the standard that we want? For example, within the ministry, we ensure that once money has been given to the different people, beneficiary groups, it is monitored. But now, the structure of the program is that, for example, when we are giving out money for any program, we work through what we call focal point persons. The focal point persons are people who are based at the district. They are in the community-based department in the district. And now these people are supposed, first of all, help us in identifying the beneficiaries, and through the different structures of the local government, the groups are identified. Now the ministry gives them the money and also gives them what we call institutional support. We give them money sent to the local government to facilitate those other stakeholders do the monitoring. Of course, that's not to say that the ministry goes back and sleeps. We also at the national level, are supposed to undertake monitoring. But the reason why the money is sent to the local government is again to cut costs, because in the implementation of these programs, like for the case of programs like YRP or UWEB, we are supposed to use 20% of the allocation. It means that if, say, for example, the ministry is given 10 billion for purposes of running UWEB or YRP, the document we have, which was passed by cabinet, says that we cannot spend more than 20% of the 10 billion. In simple mathematics, 2 billion. So if they give you 10, the 8 must be given out for the benefit of the youth and women. So you remain with 2 billion. Now, the 2 billion is again shared between the ministry and the local government. So I told you that we send money for the decision support. In most programs, World Bank programs and other programs, this ratio of administrative costs is hovers between 30% and 40%. But for us, because government really wants the money to reach the beneficiaries, we operate at a lean budget. Now, but even with the lean budget, we can do so much because we are able to go out in the field, meet these groups, and I want to report that compared to other government programs, the ministries under the ministry, the programs under the Ministry of Gender have a high return. For example, if you look at a program like UWEB YRP, we are talking about 71% recovery. And what fails people in understanding this is we calculate recovery depending on what we call amount due. Amount due means that if somebody receives money today, it will contribute to how much has been given out. But this is not a loan due, because the maturity period of this loan, people are supposed to pay back within a period of 3 years. So it means that the money received today or next month or is not due. Therefore, although you will say that you gave, but I can see in the books you have given out 100 billion. How come you have, yes.
You have recovered.
It is money which should be paid in the future. It's not due. So now if you look at money which should have been paid back, we are standing at 71%. And compared to the traditional financial institutions, we are competitive because even the banks don't reach that level.
Now, Chalimpa, if what you're saying is true, these are the recovery rates, the programs are performing very well, then where is the problem? Is it because we do not see on ground that high level of transformation of youth, that they can tell you through a government program this, a government program this? We still have youth meandering left and center, unemployed. We still have youth whose future is they don't know, they wake up like wild birds. So with these government programs, and many of them being under your ministry, then why is the problem? If the monies are there, You're saying some even you've excelled tremendously, more than commercial learning institutions. Then why do we still have the youth as paupers, a number of them in this country?
It goes back to the issue that we started with, the issue of mindset. Take, for example, I'll give the example of my father. He never got any money from government to start a business. He started small, planted his coffee, expanded, and became a rich man, even without government support. Now you have a situation where people think that there is manna coming from heaven, somebody is going to come and give them. They are happy that we have a good government. Money. Now, even when they are given that money, they think that this is the generosity of somebody, and they are not willing to pay back. Now, even those that receive money, I'll give an example of a group that I visited in Nakaseke. It was a group of 7 people. They received the money from YRP, and out of the 7, others fell off. They didn't actively participate in the group. One young man with the right mindset remained on the project with the 4 others. The others fell off. And they had a project of bull fattening. They bought bulls. When we visited them, they had 30 bulls. And they keep selling some of the bulls. So the patience of some young people is also wanting. They don't want to invest in something which does not give them quick returns. And this is a problem that we are having. And that's a reason I can see this is now not based on research. That's why if you go to the villages today, the people with money are the old people. Not because they are, but
talk about
for
the
them,
good olden days.
For them, even if you, for example, if you go to Bundibujo, I've been to Bundibujo, the people managing the shambas, because a young person thinks that planting cocoa will take 5 years, so they want money which they can earn tomorrow. They don't want to wait. Now, if we tell them that you have to plan for your future, you can plant eucalyptus tree even when you know that it will mature in 6 years. Now the young people who don't want to wait, they become the thieves. If somebody is planting vanilla, for example, here in Chagwe, the old people will plant the vanilla. The young people who have the energy instead have the energy of coming at night to steal the vanilla because they cannot plant their own. And it's not because they don't have land, because the youth will say that they don't have land.
Yes, they don't have these resources.
Now, even when the youth are given land, they will sell it to buy a motorcycle because they want quick money.
You wake up in the morning, you know you're coming back with
so money. They put pressure on the parents, they give them the land, and once they get the land, they sell it to come. I'm not saying that riding motorcycles is not a good business. It's also good business because
it has saved a huge chunk of unemployment.
But now, if for example, if you say that you want to get money from a motorcycle, so what when you get it? Are you investing it? Because you would say that, okay, now that I bought a motorcycle, I have capital, I'm sending in the village 20,000 shillings every day to plant eucalyptus, to plant coffee.
Or to buy cows.
There's a program of Mwanyiterimba and others. They would be planting coffee because they have disposable income. What are they doing with the money? Instead, they squander the resources. They marry so many wives, produce so many children, so much so that they cannot look after the family. Now, this is the mindset that we have to fight and ensure that we have right citizens of this country. Unfortunately, it is a job which may not be done by the politicians, because also the votes mean that there are some difficult topics that people fear to talk about because they may cost them the votes. Remember, we said that these are the majority. The youth are the majority. They may not want to listen to this message, but it's a message which is important for us to take the nation forward.
Now, Joshua, we've talked about government programs aimed at fighting poverty among the youth. And I must say, this is a unique government. You talked about your father who never waited for government to give them money. And many times people talk about the good old days. Now, we put a lot of emphasis on creating envelopes for youth to pick from money. But I think it's more better to create environments for youth to be able to make money. As a ministry, how are you looking into this? Because even when youth get these very monies, still if they are to buy equipments, the higher rate of taxation on these equipments. If a youth is to start in Uganda, when you look at our statistics from the Uganda Investment Authority and other bodies that do statistics, the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda, they will tell you that most of our businesses don't live to see their first birthday. Many die before 1 year. So these are the youth we are talking about. Why not focus more on the challenges there than saying we have monies in every budget, we put monies for them to pick and go ahead. Yet we know that most of these businesses, statistics have proven, you can go to Private Sector Foundation of Uganda, either we've not given them enough knowledge, but they will still fail. And yet we see those with no assistance from government, maybe managing and going through all sorts of hardships. Don't you think that this envelope, resource envelope, vote for youth, is in one way paralyzing our Ugandans and killing their mindset?
Thank you, Robert. Starting a business anywhere in the world is very difficult. It's not easy. You can go to America, you can go to anywhere. It's hard. In fact, Uganda is one of those countries with a friendly investment environment, and that's why there are other. For example, I used to stay in this particular place where you see Imperial Royal Hotel. I used to stay on the apartments there. They used to be KCC apartments. There was and I was in the LC system of this place. Now there was an Indian who came and started. We used to call it Aisha pancake at Esokona. At Esokona, near Bimbo Ice Cream, that used to be.
I remember Bimbo Ice Cream when I was growing up, yes.
Started, and of course at that time we used to complain that how can somebody come in this country and make pancakes? Moreover, an Indian. He came here, started, and today he is the owner of a company called Aisha Group. They import vehicles. It's a very big conglomerate. So I'm just giving an example because people say that Uganda doesn't have a good investment climate. How come that Indians, people from Bangladesh, people from other countries, including South Sudanese or Kenyans, are yearning to come to Uganda to invest here? And once they do, they succeed, like in the case of the true story of the person I told you who started, as I was seeing. I think once we understand that starting a business is not easy, it needs perseverance, But the problem is once you start a business and you want to start feeding on the business immediately, you are not willing to wait until the business matures and has the capacity to pay you. So what we see, for example, in the many arcades in Kampala is where somebody comes with 10 million, gets a place to work from, puts there probably phones worth 10 million, and then within the cycle of a year, if you do an assessment of the business, it is down to about 3 million because they keep taking away the money. It's not because of taxation. No, it is also because of the discipline. What is the financial discipline that we have? You'll see it even for us in the media circles. There are people who are rich, but they are also working in the same media environment like us. And if you ask for how much they are paid, probably you would be earning more than them. But for them, they are with how they are using their money is they are putting it to proper use. Somebody gets a salary of maybe 1.5 million or 2 million. Some even get less. But once they get their maybe 1 million, like for example the people in the West, he will go and buy a cow. And if he's buying 5 cows every year, it means that you are not at the same level if you come from a different part of the world where the discipline is not about that. It's not about animals. So now, after 5 years, you'll find that somebody who has been buying cows, and the cows are also producing. I'm not saying that we should all buy cows. If we cannot buy cows, how many goats are you buying? So how many hens are you buying? So that's the discipline, I think. That
so you're bringing financial discipline as the issue why we see that a number of youth are failing to make it. But let's also, as we come to the end, close to winding up of this show, now let's also look at the other issue raised by a number of youth, the element of bureaucracy. That yes, government is providing these funds, and I just want to take you back during the days of COVID-19. Government this may not be exactly targeting the youth, but still have so many youth in the informal sector. Government put about 200 billion as shock absorber fund for people in the business sector. And they were looking at members of Kasita, the business community. But guess what happened? I think this was put in Uganda Development Bank. Now, when I was speaking with a number of people from Kasita, that is Kampala State Traders Association, many told me that if there is, actually Issa Sekito on this very platform, told me, Robert, I put $1 million shilling for you to bring me just 10 members of Kasita, or even 5, who have gotten this money. They said, actually, other bigger stakeholders are the ones who have gotten this money. Because of the bureaucracy, what is required, we don't have it as Kasita members, we're in the informal sector. You pretend you want to save us, not to shrink under COVID-19, but the terms for these monies now. When we talk about the various initiatives of government aimed at eradicating poverty among the youth, there's always this question of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy. There's always the issue that youth will tell you, the money is there, but we can't get it. Even PDM, we talked about the 30% element of the youth. But when you go down to look at how many youth groups have gotten the PDM money, they'll give excuses and valid reasons to why they can't meet the desires or the requirements to get this money.
Of course, there is a challenge. One is that you have to look at the membership of Kasita. Then you also have to look at Uganda. In terms of the business community, what percentage of business community does Kasita represent? Then 2, you also have to look at the caliber of the membership. If, say, for example, you've put money in UDP, of course, government money is not money they will just pick in the envelope and give you. You will have to do paperwork. For example, they will say that you need to give audited books of account. You audit your books and show us that, okay, you were importing goods worth 200 million. Now your audit is saying that your budget, your capital has gone low to this level, and therefore you need a boost of another 100 million. You'll find that most of those membership of CASITA may not have the audited books of account. It is the reason why IFRIS became a big issue. Because you're dealing with people whose knowledge of accounting principles is also wanting. So that's where the problem comes from. So I know that there is money in UDB, and the government has given more money to
just
UDB.
as recapitalized.
And it's this money, the people who have their books will always get the money. We have the same problem, for example, in the local governments. There are also people, some people call them professional beneficiaries, that for them they know what happens, they know what paperwork is needed in the district. They also have the access to the district, or they have access to the leadership in the district. So they will know how to get PDM money, they will know how to get YRP money, they will know how to get other programs that come within the local government. Now, should we blame them for the ignorance of others who may not know what to do? Of course, the duty of us in the ministry is to ensure that everybody gets the information, and I'm happy that you give us this opportunity to talk to the nation and let them know what opportunities are available within the government for the benefit. But again, once they get the information, if they sit on it and cannot act, why should they blame others who are able to act and get benefit from government programs? That's the challenge that we have.
One would wonder then, if you know that these are the weaknesses of these people, why don't you design something tailor-made for them? Because most of our youth are not learned, illiterate or semi-illiterate. Many of them lack this exposure, and we keep on doing the same thing, expecting different results. Are we for real?
No, of course we have done. One of the things that we thought was a challenge to the youth and even women was the requirement for a lot of paperwork. Now, what do? For example, we did a generic constitution for people who want to register a group. And what you need is just to fill in the name of the group. You sit with your people and say that we want our group to be called the UBC Investment Circle, and the people fill in the names and the date when you agreed, and that is forwarded. Now, that can suffice, because people were being exploited by experts in making constitution, in making
proposals. They are conned, then
we dealt with that.
Yeah, they bring the little they have, they never get the government money.
There is the other problem which is hard to deal with is the laziness of people. People who don't want to act on information. Yeah.
So there are many out there that receive this information and they're not willing to act upon it. Well, time seems to be flying, and I must leave room for more programming. But Joshua, as we leave the set, what is your final message to the youth out there who feel that government has forsaken them, who've lost hope, yet they keep on hearing every financial year when they are reading the budget, chunks of money, billions, trillions, that is meant to be their money to help them move to another step?
Thank you very much, comrade. There's a lot within government. Government has put aside lots of money in different programs,
Yes.
which youth can benefit from. Of course, the approach of government is through groups. It means that working alone cannot help. You need to work with others to benefit from government programs. Whether YRP, whether UWEP, whether PDM, whether there are many programs within government which we can benefit from. The other one is youth should be patient, should put their monies in things where they may not get money for tomorrow. They should know that being a youth is transition. All of us have been youth. Some of us are now out of the youth bracket, but we were youth at a certain point. So you needed to plan for the period that is coming, and that's where the youth are making a problem. They think that that you are going to be a youth forever, which is not the case. Sometimes even they don't want to grow; they keep changing. But now, now NIRA has made it difficult for people to change, to adjust their ages, because now we know. So I think we, as a country, having a youthful population is good. Once that population is turned into production. There is a problem that we are doing a lot of servicing, service sector. For example, the population which is involved in providing transport is population which could be growing coffee, which could be growing cotton, but they are providing a service of transport. Now, we are going to have a situation where, for example, I see the long-term plan, for example, in government to manage the transport sector is when we have mass public transport. You have buses. This is the area where Kira EV is investing to produce buses. Now, what will happen? Because somebody should be there planning. What will happen to youth who had occupied this space when mass transport system comes? And these have not been oriented to do others, to provide other services or to go into production. Then we're likely to have some challenge there in implementation. So it is important that all relevant actors within government come together to talk to these issues such that we can get the best out of this youthful population that we have. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Joshua Chalimpa, Public Relations Officer, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. We have been discussing the youth question and what government is doing. Well, the truth is there are a number of government programs that have been put in place to ensure that the youth are helped out of poverty. Some is startup capital, others are monies for you who is doing something. The big question is, have you taken interest to find out what do I need to tap into this opportunity? Remember, opportunity comes to those who are prepared. So how do you fix yourself in the line of opportunity to benefit from government? That is a question you should be asking yourself, than rather lamenting that government has done nothing. There could be so much, but you've not interested yourself in tapping from this. And those that are prepared are taking even on opportunities that are meant to be used. See you tomorrow, God willing. Have a lovely day for God and my country. God bless Uganda.
Thank you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.